Well, we're doing it again because we did half the podcast without it recording because I'm a fucking genius. Welcome to the Anthem Warren Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Stopsky, along with Coach Matt Giannettino. Only one this week. I did a massive episode with my brother Joey on Thursday. It was 2 hours long. So if you missed me at all, I'm sure you at least had a little bit extra of me for that 2 hours. Trying to cram for the draft as we get into April. I still have a little bit more work than I wanted to have going to April. So I took some time off. Also, White's birthday, Easter, family shit. So only one this week, but I'm doing it with Coach Matt Giannettino, my boy, and we are doing a mock draft today. I am taking the odds. He is taking the evens. But before we jump into that for the second time tonight, Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. I am good. Happy we only got to 4 before we, like you said, hit record, and it wasn't as bad as halfway through. So, and then for those of you who are going to get on Matt for not coming out with a podcast every day, well, he did a 2-hour one last week. So listen to those in segments and you'll be fine.
Exactly. Just pretend it's 5 episodes all in one.
Yes.
It's a fun podcast. If you haven't listened to it, it's fun. We talk about a lot of the news of the day, and also just me and my brother talking shit about everything, including my dad, which is fun. I love my dad. My dad's a crazy Giants fan. Actually, I don't know, Matt. You come from a Giants family as well.
Yes.
My father, a man who's was raised in the 70s and into the 80s. I think he actually hates the Cowboys more than he likes the New York Giants. I'm not sure if anyone in your family follows the same suit, but like in the playoffs, not last year, the year before that, when the Giants beat the Vikings, like he was just more excited the Cowboys weren't in it anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, Dad, we won a playoff game. He was like, no, but the Cowboys aren't in it anymore.
Fair. Yeah, that is a fair comparison for sure.
So, but it was a fun conversation. Let's get into the draft. I'm taking the odds. We spent probably a little too much time on it last time. Caleb Williams going 1-1. Listen, it's happening. No one's jumping Caleb Williams at this point. It's going to be him to Chicago. Chicago's playing Tyson Bagent at this point. Like, there's no one there. So let's jump to Washington. Matt, who are you taking at 2?
Yeah, and just to preface for the listeners out there, we're not doing trades for this. We're only doing one round. So, again, I don't think this is a trade spot anyway. I think I had brought it up before, but Brian Kelly kind of leaked it. Jaden Daniels goes number 2. It would be interesting to see if it is JJ McCarthy. There's some rumblings out there. I don't know if that's their way of trying to put value into their pick a little bit more to get some King's ransom to trade down. But I think at the end of the day, it's Jaden Daniels, and we move on.
Yeah, so I did reach out to some people about that. And the consensus I got was it seemed like bullshit. It seemed like smoke. There's nothing to that pick. However, and I should have mentioned before, I did in the first podcast to give myself some credit. We are going to have a little mix of what we think is going to happen versus what we would do. So we're going to try to keep the players where we kind of feel they'll end up going, at least close enough. But if we feel one player than the other, we might sway that way. And that's kind of where we are with the New England Patriots. I like Drake May more. I think Drake May is the 3rd best quarterback in this class. I think he's in the same tier as Jaden Daniels. I don't think it's that close, that far apart. I think Caleb Williams is a tier above both those guys. But I do think it's very close. JJ McCarthy, though, is probably going to go as a 3rd quarterback. Like I was telling you before, Matt, this is starting to feel like the 2021 draft, not in terms of talent, but in terms of like the roles that the 5 quarterbacks played. Caleb being Trevor, the obvious 1-1. Jaden Daniels being the second one, being like Zach Wilson, who had that crazy year that shot him up draft boards. Jaden Daniels wasn't even being talked about as a top 50 pick coming into the season, and now he's a 2nd overall pick, kind of like Zach, who came out of nowhere. Then you have McCarthy as Trey Lance. I remember when Lance Zierlein told me, Mike, and Austin that San Fran was going to take Lance with the trade up and not Mac Jones or Justin Fields, which was the original rumor. People didn't believe it. Like, how could you take Trey Lance? He's not even close to Mac or Fields, and that's been proven. Like, he's not.
Sure.
But just because we feel a way about a player or the media does not mean that the league does. And the league likes McCarthy. I'm getting that sense. I've talked to a lot of people already. It's not a smokescreen. they like McCarthy. They like McCarthy more than like May. I don't think anyone hates Drake May, but I think they're viewed as in the same tier differently than most media people have, where it's May and Williams or May and Daniels in the same tier. So just to have a little bit of fun here, because I kind of want to see where May would slide, because I think there's a real possibility that May, being kind of like Justin Fields in this draft, is going to slide further than expected, and then Bo Nix is Mac Jones, who's going to go to Denver probably. I want to see where Drake May would go in this exercise. So I'm going to take McCarthy here at 3. The Patriots get a hashtag winner, which as we both agree is kind of a crock shit. Being a winner on that Michigan team is not difficult, but he's a good quarterback. I like him way more than I like Trey Lance. I don't want that to be mistaken. I like him way more than I like Trey Lance coming out of school. But I do think he's not as good as May. So we are now at pick 4 with Arizona. We're now on Drake May watch. All the cameras are shooting on Drake May. Where's he gonna go? Oh my God, his fall is the next Aaron Rodgers. 0% chance he goes to Arizona though, because there's no trades in this mock draft.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that would be a possible trade up candidate. Like, think about the Vikings, right off the bat. Do they have enough ammunition to jump the Giants, in a sense, is what people have talked about. But again, I think if this pick stays, they're so desperate for a receiver. I think, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the pick. We've talked about it ad nauseum. And I think it's just too obvious at that point.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I know there's been talks that the Cardinals want to move off this pick. No fucking chance.
Yeah.
The Vikings are talking to the Patriots, and that's kind of it. I don't think the Cardinals or the Chargers want to move off of their pick right now, because I think they both want Marvin Harrison and Malik Nabers, who I'm going to take here. I know Joe Alt is a popular pick among people, and I do think that if Jim Harbaugh was building this team from scratch, he would take Joe Alt, but he can't walk in to the season in a passing league and let Justin Herbert throw it to Quentin Johnston and Joshua Palmer as his only 2 receivers. You need Malik Nabers in there. You need a 1-1, and that's where Malik Nabers goes.
Yeah, and I think this kind of sets up for the Giants, and I think
is this where it goes? Is Drake May a New York Giant, or is it going to be Roma Dunze? Is it going to be Joe Alt? Brock Bowers?
I think here this is where, again, the Giants could get some leverage, right, in terms of a trade market. They could bump down a few spots if they want to, get, again, a really good amount of picks, potentially. Again, you look at the Vikings as a team, the Broncos here as a team. But again, there's been some people that said the people who say the Giants need a quarterback, they need to be a year early, maybe then a year late. Drake May's done a lot of work with Eli Manning. So there's intel in the building. Eli's still around all the time. And I think the value here, I think Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, they may see a Josh Allen type of player. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, but I'm saying maybe a Josh Allen type of player especially with upside. And so I think Drake May would go here in this scenario. I think it would be, unless, again, a king's ransom, where there's a trade market, and we're not doing that. I think Drake May does make a lot of sense here for the Giants, just in terms of value.
There it is, Drake May off the board. There really is no player team fit that I feel more comfortable about in the top 10 than Joe Alt to the Titans. It's just
fair enough. Yes.
The Titans do not have an offensive line right now. They need a player of Joe Alt. I love Joe Alt. You love Joe Alt. Everyone loves Joe Alt. He's going to be tackle 1. Tackle 2 is going to be a huge question mark, but right now Joe Alt is tackle 1, and he goes to Tennessee. Who are the Falcons taking at 8? Again, before we go any further, I do think the Falcons are a trade target. I do think they have a favorite if they are to stay at 8, but I wouldn't be surprised if Denver or Vegas starts calling at 8, or Buffalo now that they don't longer have Stefon Diggs.
That's right. Yeah. And I think kind of a little bit of a second to your point about Alt to the Titans being such a great marriage. I think this next pick could be right there, right behind it. It's Dallas Turner to the Falcons. I think that's the guy you were talking about when you talk about that's the fit. The first defensive player off the board, edge rusher, obviously fills a need, and he just feels like a Falcon.
Yeah.
You think about Vic Beasley, who they had from Clemson. That edge type player. Obviously, Dallas is. I think he's a little bit bigger than Vic was. Maybe he's actually around the same size, to be honest. But I think I think he's going to be the pick there, and Dallas gets much needed help on the defensive side of the ball.
No, I agree. I think Dallas Turner. If they are there at 8, it's gonna be Dallas Turner. They have like nobody at edge. Lorenzo Carter is one of their starting edges. Like they need some upgrade there.
Yeah.
For the Bears, you get Caleb Williams. Now this is a situation where the Bears are kind of picking the best player available, right? Because they actually do have a pretty good receiving core in Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. They do have some decent tight ends in Everett and Kmet. They actually have a solid offensive line. If Joe Alt was there, maybe you go, you know what? I don't care how good the offensive line is. You take Joe Alt because he's a franchise tackle. I don't think Brock Bowers. You're not directing Brock Bowers to be tight end 3, right? This is not the way it's going to go. In my opinion, I think you take Rome Odunze here and you pair him up with Caleb Williams, and he'll be hitting his peak right as Caleb is hitting his peak, and Keenan Allen will probably be out the way at that point because he'll be, he's already an older receiver as it is today. In a couple of years, he'll probably be retired, or at least off the Bears. Rome Odunze going there at 9 just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's a no-brainer. Absolutely agree. Brings us to our crosstown rival, the New York Jets. Done a lot of work with the offensive line, retooled that, right? They did a really good job. I think they go and continue to get another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, especially at the tight end position, arguably one of the best athletes in the draft in Brock Bowers. And I think that would be the pick. Another guy that seems like a really just tremendous fit there. They have really no tight end on the roster. That's going to be an impact type player. So I think Brock Bowers, he'll be there for 8 years, 10 years. So I think Brock Bowers is the fit. And again, where there's smoke, there's fire. So
I agree. I think now that they've gotten Moses and they've gotten Tyron Smith, you go out and get a Brock Bowers. I know there's been talks about you take a tackle to back up. You have a good starting 5 right now, but if any of them go down and they're on the older side, do you want somebody there? But listen, the only way the Jets go all the way this year is if everything goes their way, right?
Yeah.
So don't have a plan. There is no plan B here for the New York Jets. That's it. If it doesn't work out this year or a star player goes down, that's the end of the run. It's time to rebuild next year. So I'd say put the best player available out there, put an instant upgrade over a tight end, and give Aaron Rodgers a real weapon to play with. And I think, getting Brock Bowers is smart. For Minnesota here at 11, they've kind of fucked themselves. They have no quarterback. They're not walking out Sam Darnold here. So they're taking Bo Nix, honestly, not that much higher than I think he will end up going in the draft. I do think Bo Nix will end up either here or Denver or Vegas because all 3 of those teams fucked themselves with no quarterback on the roster. I forgot who's even on the. I know Gardner Minshew's on the Raiders roster. I forgot who was on the Broncos. Is Jarrett Stidham, right? Is that the starting quarterback right now for the Broncos?
Yes,
yeah. And Sam Darnold on the Vikings. These guys are not meant to go into week 1. So if anything, the Raiders are in the best spot with Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew kind of has that swag to be a Raiders quarterback, so he'd be fun to watch. But you're not walking out with Jarrett Stidham as your starting quarterback for Sean Payton in year 3. There's just no way.
Yeah,
it's just
agree.
No, I'm sorry, year 2 with Payton. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that they do that. So, well, now I pass over to you for the Denver Broncos. Are you going to reach for Michael Penix Jr.? Are you going to take Spencer Rattler, or are you going to take the best player available?
Yeah, listen, I think when you look at the Broncos, I think that they have no choice but to go quarterback. I really just do, and I think obviously we just don't see the board kind of going this way, right? I mean, probably not, and they'll probably end up with a Bo Nix type of guy. But Michael Penix, super freaky athletic. The numbers he put up at his pro day was really impressive. Obviously, the injury history is there, but if the injury history wasn't there, I think that this is a very fair fit. I think that, with Sean Payton, it could be a really good combination. And I think just the need is there, and I think they kind of don't have a choice. And I don't really think that Michael Penix makes it out of the first round. So again, if that's
really?
I don't think so. And if he does, he'll be a guy that people will trade up for day two, early day two. So
I'm on that train. I think he's an early day 2 trade up for type guy, but I'm with you. I think he's a good athlete, good player.
Yeah, and again, I think just in this scenario, I would be shocked if they went another route than that.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with this. I do believe that the Vikings are going to move up to 3. They're going to take McCarthy. Drake May might still end up falling to the New York Giants, and then I do think that that Bo Nix goes 12 to Denver. I don't think the Patriots are going to reach for a quarterback here. Jacoby Brissett's not a bad quarterback. He can play and start a year, be fine. So you can take a second-round player, have him battle out with Bailey Zappi, see if anything can happen with this new coaching staff, and then if it doesn't work out and they suck again, then they pick a quarterback next year. I know everyone's saying it's a bad QB draft, but they said about the 2017 draft too, and that produced the best quarterback of this generation. And before Watson, got outed as like one of the worst dudes on the planet, he was also like a top 5 quarterback. So let's I'm not a big fan of looking a year ahead because you don't fucking know what you're going to get, right? No one would have thought Jaden Daniels. No one would have thought Joe Burrow. Let it come to you. There'll be a quarterback, I promise.
Yeah.
It may not be the guy you think, it might be Brock Purdy over Kenny Pickett, but there'll be a quarterback, I promise. On to Vegas here. This should be a quarterback. There's not a quarterback available. This is going to be offensive lineman for me. The thing is, is it going to be J.C. Latham, which I think there's a serious chance it's J.C. Latham or Oli Fashanu. But for me, there is just no better fit than Talisa Fuaga of Oregon State with the Raiders. This dude just is a Raider. This man finishes blocks into the dirt. If he's gonna play on Sunday, he's gonna bounce for the MGM on Monday. This dude is an absolute mauler of an offensive lineman. I think he brings instant toughness to your offensive line. I know JC Latham is probably OT too, but if I'm about this pure offensive lineman, Talisa Fuaga is the second best offensive lineman for me in this draft.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think the Las Vegas Raiders and Talisa Fuaga, I think we're hitting the nail on the head with a lot of these fits, man. A lot of these guys are, kind of just perfect fits for these teams. And you said it. I mean, he's nasty and he'll finish. And I remember when the Raiders drafted Robert Gallery back in, I think, 04, 05, something like that. And he was that Iowa guard who just was a mauler. Gabe Jackson's another guy that comes to mind, right? Just these big bruising guys. And Fuaga obviously can, some people have projected him maybe to go inside and maybe be a versatile type player. But they did lose out on Jermaine Illuminor, who signed with the Giants. And I think he fills that void, right away.
Yeah, I think he can play right tackle right now. I'm not worried about it. I think, he doesn't have the length that you're kind of looking for. No, he's not small arms. They're still 33 plus, but they're not what you want for a tackle in today's day and age. But it's still it makes up for it in the rest of his work. But on to you over here at New Orleans. I'm starting to think, I know kind of around here, we're going to start seeing some offensive linemen come off the board, our favorite position. The Saints are in a weird spot, right? Because they're kind of like an average team, middle of the pack. Where are they going? Are they going defense? There's really not a receiver here. Maybe there is. Maybe if you think Brian Thomas Jr. is that good, there's no quarterback for them here at 14, nor do they take a quarterback in the first round with Derek Carr under that contract. Or do they continue the offensive line trend and draft someone to start above Trevor Penning at left tackle? Because it seems like that's probably a necessity.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they do. I'm going to go with Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I think that's going to be the pick. I think, we talked a lot about, I'm a big fan of J.C. Latham. He was my second tackle, but I think Fashanu, really solid in the pass protection side of things. And I think with coaching in the run game, he could get better. So I think for the Saints, they have to shore up an anemic offensive line.
And I do think Fashanu fits better at left side than Latham does. Like Latham is a right tackle in the NFL, with Fashanu being a left tackle.
Yes.
There are slight differences between the two. It's not as big as it used to be in the 90s and mid 2000s. Now they're a little more interchangeable. But I think if you're looking for someone to play left tackle, Fashanu is your guy. Over for Indianapolis, man, the poor Colts fans, they thought they were going to get L'Jarius Sneed, and they go to the Titans instead, which is fucking brutal. So they need cornerback help. They need it. The question really is, who's the first corner off the board? And for PFF, they have Cooper DeJean as their top guy. I don't think that's how the league sees it. I think it's between Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold. And to be fair, I haven't watched Quinyon Mitchell yet. I've watched Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold's my favorite cornerback coming into this, but without watching Quinyon Mitchell, to me, and from everything I'm hearing, Quinyon Mitchell is going to be the first corner off the board. So I will give Quinyon Mitchell to the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say a sneaky pick there. If it's not corner, this could be the first wow pick of the draft. I remember one of the weirdest picks I ever remember was Tyson Alualu, like in the top 10.
Oh my God, the Jack. Yeah.
Okay. So this could be that pick. If they don't go corner, I'm going to say it now, Xavier Worthy. To the Colts.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. So the reason I say that is Shane Steichen had a guy very similar build in Devonta Smith, and with maybe even better speed than Devonta Smith.
It's like a 4.4 guy.
Yeah. Yes.
And where's so 4.2?
Listen, I think he's a guy who's really rising up draft boards, and in a game now with speed. If they don't go corner, that could be a really interesting fit. I don't think it's going to happen, but interesting fit there. Anyway, on to the Seahawks.
All right, and that's you. Who the Seahawks? I'm assuming it's going to be offensive lineman here. No, it could be defensive lineman. They do need help there as well, but their offensive line is brutal at the moment. Yeah, where are you going here?
It is pretty bad. And I think that to me is the biggest need there. Again, you look at the guard position. They lost out on Damian Lewis in free agency. And I think, I think you just go BPA, best lineman available, right? I don't know if there's necessarily a guard that you would take here, but I think a guy like Troy Fontenot, he's in their backyard, right? He's at Washington. I think it's right around where he gets drafted. He gives them position versatility at the tackle spot as well. I think he's going to be really a good guard, and that's the guy I would go with. I'm going to go with Font now.
I agree. I don't think there's a pure guard that goes in the first round, but I think Fontenot ends up moving inside. Him and Fuaga both might move inside, but Fontenot definitely has to move inside. I think he's an average tackle and a plus to almost impact level guard. So I think moving him inside makes a lot of sense. I had a chance to watch him and do a lot more analytics work after our conversation about him, and the numbers liked him a lot at guard. So I think him playing guard is going to be good. He's not going to be that typical mauler guard. He's more of a wall-off type run blocker, but he's a hell of an athlete, and he can pass block really well. So, and I agree. He's right in the backyard. It makes a lot of sense. Over to Jacksonville.
Duval,
man. So God damn, did you hear that behind me? That's fucking lightning.
It's pretty bad.
Well, not obviously not hearing lightning. It's thunder, but fuck. So here's a question with Jacksonville, right? I'm out of here, man. I'm losing my mind. But Jacksonville, it's probably going to be edge or offensive lineman, right? Yeah. You probably can go corner here. What do the fans on PFF say? They like Terrion Arnold, which is not a bad pick there. He's there. He's gonna be cornerback one to some people. I take Latu there instead, though? I kind of like Latu a lot. But, so here's my thing with Latu, right? Without the injury history, we're talking about a top 12 player probably.
Yep.
With the injury history, how far does he fall? Because I do think he's better than Jared Verse. And I think there's a chance that Verse goes ahead of him because without his first doesn't have the injury history that Latu has. Latu had to officially retire for a bit because of his, I think it was his neck. Oh man, it's like where do I go with them? I'm going to drag this out. I'm going to drag it out. But I think in the end, I'm going to go Terry Arnold. No, I'm going to Arnold. I think you get
that's fair. That's fair.
You get a really good corner there. One who's arguably 1A, 1B in this position. I think that's probably a smart move.
Listen, the Bengals. I feel like another really good fit here. Offensive line. I think they go get a tackle. I think it's going to be J.C. Latham, my second tackle. I think it's great value here for them. Obviously, a huge need. Got to continue to protect Joe Burrow, who, got banged up last year and was out for the whole year. And you got to protect the franchise, right? So I think you get the big guy in Latham, and I think that's a home run fit.
No, I agree. For the Rams, I feel, and this is where I'm sad for the Rams, right? Like it probably should be D tackle, right?
Yeah.
But whoever they draft to replace Aaron Donald it doesn't matter how good he is, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Donald's a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. Even this guy comes out and is like a 3-time All-Pro, that's still bitch numbers compared to Aaron Donald,
right.
who was
100%.
like just easily one of the best players we've ever seen of all time.
Yeah, no question.
So, I will pick a D tackle here. The question is, though, Newton versus Murphy. I have not watched D tackles yet. They're the next thing on my list. It seems like the media has Murphy as the first guy going. However, a lot of people that I know that evaluate love Johnny Newton from Illinois. And because they're so close, I'm going to say fucking go Newton here. Newton apparently is a top 10 player according to PFF. So, I'll give that the slight edge. Put Newton there at pick 19.
Yeah, I think that's, again, the Rams do a great job of evaluating. I think it's, in that sense, just the value. I think they'd run to the podium. Obviously, there's the need that meets the value. That's hard to pass up. On to the Steelers.
I do think there's one. If Latham is there, though, I think Latham is the pick. However, Latham going a pick after them, I think it forces them. I don't think they're going to reach for a Mims or reach for a Guyton at 19. There's a chance maybe you get JPJ there and move him the guard, but it's still like you got. I personally think you go with those D tackles instead. Go back to the Steelers, who are obviously going to take JPJ because they have no center.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that is a possible fit. I'm not going to go that route, though.
Oh, different route. Okay. I'm really excited about this.
I am going to go a different route. I'm going to go with Brian Thomas, the wide receiver from LSU. And because the reason I say that is because I think the wide receiver core just isn't great, right? I think you look at Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins. I mean, again, they have Deontay Johnson for now. But is he a guy that maybe they move? And I just don't see a long-term marriage there. So I think they have to be able to have a better wide receiver core. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. is the best available at this point.
Wow. I like it. With Miami, actually, I mocked Brian Thomas last week to Miami because I think they need a third receiver, and just imagine that receiving core is just not fair. But JP
Xavier Worthy, you gotta go with Xavier Worthy. You gotta go.
No, I'm not. I can't. Because right now there are 3 linemen in Miami. They need another lineman. JPJ can start today, guard or center. You need to have him in there with Hunt gone. You need a new interior offensive lineman, and he can step in right away. I know it would have been I have fantasy booked Miami so many times. I had Brock Bowers there once. I had Brian Thomas there once. But right now, if Tua if Tua's a 5-step drop on his 5th step, he's getting sacked. So they need someone there right now. And I think, Jackson Powers Johnson of Oregon just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, I got the Eagles. I think you look at Cooper DeJean as maybe a guy here. This would be a really good spot for him. Versatile guy, maybe play some safety, play some corner. But I think the pick is actually going to be Nate Wiggins. I think that they just
don't say that. Don't.
Yeah.
All right. So before you give your evaluation on Nate Wiggins, I just want to let you know the world of shit you just stepped yourself into. I've been mocking Nate Wiggins to Philly for the last 3 weeks, right? Eagles fans on TikTok, and although I will say my TikTok got nerfed this last week, I was getting 4, 5, 6, 30,000 views. The last one that had Nate Wiggins to the Eagles got 40 fucking views. So I think the Eagles may have Eagles fans may report it as abuse because no one's seeing it anymore. But dude, they fucking want Kool-Aid to Philly. I'm telling them no one's mocking.
Well, they want Kool-Aid to Philly, and then you can put this on TikTok. I don't care. They want Kool-Aid to Philly just because they want to talk about the SEC connection with Alabama and Georgia, and that's what it is. Especially if he was a Georgia player, I'll tell you right now, and they'd love Nate Wiggins if he was a Georgia player. So
right,
don't even get me started in that sense. So,
but yeah, give your Nate Wiggins evaluation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Wiggins is he's a first-round corner. I mean, he's done a tremendous job at Clemson. He's got good size at almost 6'2", 180 pounds, 175 pounds. The need there is just so tremendous, right? I think his 40-yard dash time was tremendous, 99th percentile. Good broad jump, excuse me. So obviously the explosion is there as an athlete. I just think it's low-hanging fruit at this point. Another one of those seamless fits.
No, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. To Minnesota, who will not be picking here because this will probably end up being the Patriots. Yeah. I think Cooper DeJean makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
To Minnesota, they need help at corner. They need help at safety. This is just a lot of sense. Picking Cooper DeJean, putting them right there in Minnesota. This is not going to happen because they're not picking there. But yeah, that's who we're mocking for right now. Cooper DeJean is projected to play safety in the NFL. We know why. But he's a pretty good corner overall. I think he can play all 4 spots, free safety, strong safety, slot, and perimeter corner. So he's very versatile. Have him as a guy, part of a defense that really needs a whole lot of work. I think that's a smart move. To Dallas, on to you, sir, Dallas. And this is an interesting one. I've been saying this for a little while now. Dallas needs offensive line help right now. It's for the first time in a long time where Dallas is really struggling on the offensive line. They lost 2 starters in free agency. And I don't know about you, they're not left with a ton of ready to play today options at this point in this mock draft. What are you looking at?
Yeah, this is a tough one, I think. And again, maybe value here with Latu could be a guy that you look at. I also think the receiver is a sneaky need. And I think another guy that is kind of rising up draft boards is A.D. Mitchell from Texas. And again, similar to the fit with Seattle and Troy Fontenot, right? Kind of in your backyard. Obviously Texas being in the backyard of Dallas, being able to scout him. I think A.D. Mitchell would be the pick. They definitely have the need at offensive line. However, I actually think that who do you go with in that spot? I mean, JPJ is low hanging fruit if he's there, but he's not in this scenario. Huh? Mims? Yeah, I can see Mims. I think I get that. I understand that argument, but I think the wide receiver situation with Dallas, they have a weird fascination with just getting a bunch of receivers and doing that. So I could see that. But yeah, I think about Mims, and I'm not going to take the pick back now, but I think that's a fair fair pick.
So with Green Bay, my favorite pick for Green Bay is Cooper DeJean, which I think actually will end up being the pick. He's not available here though. You could go Mims here. You could go Latu, who's a value pick. But I think Byron Murphy II is also a pretty good value pick here for Green Bay. And then we're on to you for the next 3 picks: Tampa, Arizona, because you picked for Arizona at 4, and then Buffalo. So please spread the gospel, sir.
Thanks.
On the weekend after Easter, spread the gospel.
Yeah, no pressure. Thank you for that. One guy that I think there's 2 guys. Like I think there's 2 guys here that I think of. They happen to both be the top 2 guys here for PFF, Latu and Verse. I think at this point, it'd be really hard to see Latu drop this far. And I think they need to replace some of that pass rush in a very blitz heavy type of defense, right, with Todd Bowles. So I think it's got to be Latu. You could argue Verse again, right in your backyard, but I think that kind of that's another story for another day. I think with Arizona, I think this is a tough one. I think this is where Verse could go. You go back to back with the D line edge rush type player. So I'm going to go with Verse to Arizona. I think value and need is there. And then this is where you have Buffalo. And Buffalo obviously needs wide receiver. At this point, Stefon Diggs is gone. Where do they go? It's not great, right? But I think this is where you could argue someone take the top off the defense with Xavier Worthy is possible. If you want a bigger body guy, maybe it's Xavier Legette. I think it's just too early. But again, a guy that's shooting up draft boards. I talked about him possibly to the Colts if they don't go DB because of the speed. I'm going to go Xavier Worthy here. I could see that for them. And do I have the Lions as well?
No, Lions belong to me.
Damn it.
And I'm giving the Lions the same player I gave them last week. Give them Kool-Aid McKinstry. Sure up that secondary.
Yeah, they have to with Sutton gone.
Exactly. Yeah, with Sutton gone, they need another corner. So Kool-Aid, I think, fits. And they're getting a great value, right? Because Kool-Aid was talked about at the beginning of the year as a top 15 player. Getting him at 29 is a great value.
Yep, 100%.
So over to you at Baltimore.
Yeah, this is low-hanging fruit. It's Amarius Mims. I mean, I think that's to me a no-brainer. So yeah.
All right, on to so now with San Fran, there's just this, I've mocked receiver to San Fran before. I've mocked AD Mitchell to them. I've mocked Worthy to them. So with the Brandon Ayuk stuff still kind of hanging over the team, that might be the only real need they have. But the team that was in the Super Bowl last year. There's not a ton of needs on this team. So I guess we go best overall player. I think is probably fair. The question then becomes Graham Barton or Tyler Gotton. I will say I have not watched them yet. Actually, I watched Gotton. I think I watched Gotton. I haven't watched Barton yet. Matt, you've watched both of them. So I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to pick the position, but I want you to pick the player. Barton or Guyton for San Fran?
I think the safest player is Barton. I think that's got to be it. And they do a great job of developing O-linemen anyway. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to play tackle for them right away, but he does have position versatility. Some argue he could play center. People are saying guard for sure. But yeah, that to me is a no-brainer.
I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, now to the Chiefs, who have all of a sudden a need at possibly receiver after what's going on with Rashee Rice, and then also corner with L'Jarius Sneed gone. Right now, they actually have way more needs than a team like San Fran.
Yeah, I think. Can I see who's available at corner? Because this is a weird. Who's available right now?
Yeah, the corners right now, and this is always a hard spot, right? With pick 32, because no one ever has a consensus to pick 32. We've seen Lassiter mock there. We've seen Rakestraw mock there. I haven't seen TJ Tampa anywhere near there, or the kid from Michigan. So it's you're definitely taking a day 2 player at 32 at corner.
Yeah, I'm not going to take corner. Let me go to
For
receiver for a second because I know who I want, and I just
or
want to double check.
receiver
Yeah,
is everyone's favorite Lad McConkey, who keeps getting mocked to Kansas City, and there's also like Ricky Parasol's gets mocked there a lot. Keon Coleman is not going to go right now in the first round. Xavier Leggett is talked about as a first round receiver. So
yeah. Well, listen,
there's more value there.
If you want speed, Troy Franklin, right? I think that could be a
Mm-hmm.
possibility. Super athlete. I think maybe even like a Roman Wilson type guy. But I think, I mean, can we not just see Lad McConkey scoring the touchdown, this game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl this year? I mean, this guy. I'm seriously
Makes
like,
sense.
this is the pick. I mean, that's to me. As soon as I saw I had the Chiefs, I'm like, it's Lad McConkey, low-hanging fruit. Give us an F, PFF, because that wasn't great. But
I get full A's in this place. Full. There's no assistant. They fired the assistant.
Damn it.
I'm just gonna save this image. I'll save it afterwards. But boom, that's our mock draft. We'll post it on Twitter. But there it is, the first round. We'll do a longer mock as we get closer to the draft, which is now only 3 weeks away. Fun little exercise. I have not done a 2-person mock in a long time. I think we're starting to see some picks starting to come to light, right? Now that we're getting into April. There are still some though that are going to be surprising to many. I agree with you on Worthy being that could be like, oh fuck, like that's high. I think May is the one that's could slide. Cooper DeJean, I have no idea where that guy's going.
Yeah.
He could go as high as like 12 and as low as like the day 2. There's gonna be some cool storylines to follow in late April. But Maddie, thank you for joining me today. Hopefully we don't get nerfed again on TikTok and I get more than 200 fucking bro. When I posted, I was like, because listen, I'm not like TikTok famous or anything, but the mock draft videos I've been getting like 3, 4, 5. Like some of the early ones got 30 fucking thousand. Like I've had a few that hit like 30,000, 25,000.
I love it.
And I posted one. I was like, I posted one got 4,000. I'm like, all right, cool. No, it's not bad. It's about the usual it is now. And I posted that Nate Wiggins one, and it got 20 fucking views. I'm like, oh shit, the Eagles got me. The Eagles fucking got me.
The Eagles, of course.
So I tried reposting. Actually, I got 80 views. I deleted it, and I was like, oh, but it's a bad connection. I reposted it, and because I originally named it Wiggins to Philly. I'm like, I'll just rename it Mims to Dallas. It was originally 80, then it was 20. It actually had 8 for like a full 3 hours. It was like 8. Like, come on, man. Like I've scrolled through 8 TikToks in 30 seconds. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. But that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a good one. I think it's a good one, and definitely some unique ones thrown out there, and back-to-back Bama guys and back-to-back Texas guys, and so it's an interesting draft, but definitely something that I think is realistic. A little different, but realistic.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Sir, I will see you next week. You're the best.
Peace.